Can you believe it's been 15 years since this here superhero flick came out? Well, I'm going to say that before we even got film adaptations of groups like the Suicide Squad or even Justice League, we actually got this film, and this film is kind of underrated and what have you. So prepare yourselves as I review Watchmen. Bad days, entertainment rankings and reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name is Doal, better known to as the Big D, and this time around I bring to you a review of the 2009 superhero flick Watchmen, released by Warner Brothers along with Paramount and Legendary Pictures. Based on the 1986 to 1987 DC Comics limited series of the same name, co-created and illustrated by Dave Gibbons, with co-creator and author Alan Moore choosing to remain uncredited. Directed by Zack Snyder after he had recently shot the film of 300 a couple years prior from a screenplay by David Hayter and Alex Tse, featuring a big cast in one of it, including Malin, Akerman, Billy Crudup, Matthew Goode, Carla Gugino, Jackie Earle Haley, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and Patrick Wilson. It's a dark and dystopian deconstruction of the superhero genre. The film is set in alternate history in the year 1985 at the height of the Cold War. As a group of mostly retired American superheroes investigate the murder of one of their own before uncovering an elaborate and deadly conspiracy, while their moral limitations are challenged by the complex nature of the circumstances. The film was released well on March 6th, 2009. Hence, today is the film's 15th anniversary. I almost said 25th. Sorry. It premiered a little before that at Odeon Leicester Square. Anyway, for nearly 2 decades, since 1987, this had been in development hell for a long time. Lawrence Gore and Joe Silver began development the project at Fox before later moving to Warner Brothers, the sister company of publisher DC Comics, and hiring Terry Gilliam, who eventually let the production deem the complex comic unfilmable. So for many years they tried with Universal, Revolution, and even Paramount to produce the film. Now they would produce the film, but only for international release, though. But anyway, now as with 300, Zack Snyder closely modeled his storyboards on the comic, but chose not to shoot all of Watchmen using green screens and opted for real sets instead. Alright, that about covers it for what I'm telling you about this film, because I've got to tell you the story. In 1985, a man living in a Manhattan apartment watches news about escalating Cold War tensions and the response from five-term President Nixon when an unknown assailant attacks and hurls him to the street below. Throughout the opening credits, a montage reviews the rise of costume crime fighters from 1939 to 1977, culminating in public backlash and the passage of an Anti-Vigilante Act. Rorschach, a vigilante detective who operates illegally, discovers that the dead man was Edward Blake, better known as the Comedian, a costumed hero who worked for the government. Suspecting that other vigilantes could be attacked, Rorschach warns members of his former team, the Watchmen. Rorschach's former partner, Dan Dreiberg, believes he is paranoid but relays his concerns to Adrienne Veidt, a crime fighter turned businesswoman. Rorschach later visits Dr. Manhattan, a physicist whose accidental superpowers make him a national security asset. But Manhattan is preoccupied with energy research and ignores him. At Blake's funeral, Manhattan, Veidt, and Dreiberg each recall the comedian's pessimism in his later years about the Watchman's mission. After the service, a lone mourner pays his respects. Rorschach tracks down and questions the mourner, former supervillain Edgar Jacobi. He says that Blake had recently broken into his apartment while he was sleeping, tearful, unmasked, and incoherent. Rorschach is astonished by doubts that Jacoby would tell a lie so bizarre. During a press interview with Dr. Mahan, an investigative journalist tells him that several people who have been in contact with Mahan have developed cancer, including his former girlfriend. As our reporters mob Mahan with questions, he snaps and exiles himself to Mars. Alone, Mahan reflects on his existence and his regrets at being turned into a weapon. In his absence, Warsaw Pact countries make aggressive moves and Nixon prepares for war. Veidt survives an assassination attempt, suggesting that Rorschach's mass killer theory is correct. Dreiberg takes in Laurie Jupiter, a second generation vigilante and estranged lover of Mahan, for protection. Rorschach's investigation of the assassin leads him back to Jacoby. While attempting to question him again, Rorschach is framed for his murder, arrested, and unmasked as a low born vagrant. In prison, Rorschach defends his vigilantism to a psychiatrist, saying he cannot ignore evil and the people who cause it. Dreiberg and Jupiter, growing nostalgic for their crime fighting days, don their costumes and break Rorschach out of prison in order to save him from being killed in a riot. Mahan teleports Jupiter to Mars while Dreiberg joins Rorschach's investigation of the Blake murder. Evidence points them to Veidt that as the mastermind. They find him in Antarctica, where he has just overseen the activation of Dr. Mahan's energy reactors in New York City and other locations across the planet. On Mars, Jupiter tries to convince Mahan that humanity is worth saving and succeeds only when he learns that Jupiter is Blake's illegitimate daughter, born after the affair of Sally and Blake, a fact so unlikely that it restores his respect for life. Okay, now I'm going for the ending. As always, you know the procedure. You have 5 seconds to stop this video, go to the description box below, and fast forward to the time below as I count down now. If you've seen the movie already, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. Veidt admits orchestrating Mahan's exile, staging the assassination, framing Rorschach, and killing Blake, who was spying on his activities. He has also executed the final step of his plan, turning the world against Mahan by rigging his reactors to explode, killing 15 million people. Mahan returns with Jupiter to a devastated New York, pieces together what has happened, and teleports to Veidt's hideout. After a brief struggle, Veidt shows him that the world's countries have put aside their rivalries to focus on a common enemy. Realizing the logic of Veidt's plan, the Watchmen agree to keep his secret, except for Rorschach, whom Mahan reluctantly kills to preserve the new global peace. Mahan departs permanently for another galaxy while Dreiberg rebukes Veidt's moral sacrifice. And Jupiter finally comes to terms with her parentage. A New York tabloid editor discusses that there is no war to report on, tells a staff member to choose something to publish from a pile of reader submissions that contains Rorschach's journal. End of story. So, what did I think of Watchmen? Well, I am going to say it is a pretty underrated film and what have you, in my opinion. I've only seen it a few times. I do remember going to the theater to see this film, though. Now, and unfortunately, it factually did underperform at the box office, even though it made 187 million worldwide against its 130 to 150 million-dollar budget. And but however, the film later found financial success at the home media markets. Now, former Warner Bros. Executive Greg Silverman said that the film did later become profitable. The film has received mixed and positive positive reviews from fans and critics, saying the style was praised, but Snyder was accused of making an action film that lacked the thematic depth and nuance of the comic. I've never actually read the comic though, but I really wish I could have, even before this film came out. I might have looked at maybe one before this came out. A DVD based on elements of the film of the universe was released, including an anime adaptation of the Tales of the Black Frewer comic within the story, voiced by Gerard Butler, who recently appeared in Snyder's 300, along with a fictional documentary titled Under the Hood, detailing the older generation of superheroes from the film's backstory. Now, over the years Watchmen has gained a cult following. After its well, in July 2009, when it got just once it was released on physical media, it actually got a director's cut, which I haven't seen. And they've said it's much better and what have you. Yeah, it was received better received than the theatrical release. If I haven't found it somewhere, I'll look into it. There was also an Ultimate Cut edition incorporated the animated comic Tales of the Black Frewer into the narrative as it was in the original graphic novel, lengthening the film's runtime to 3 hours and 35 minutes, released a few months later in November of 2009. The film's overall running time is 163 minutes, and that's longer than any other superhero flick, long before Avengers Endgame came out. But anyway, it still did fine, what have you. It had the biggest number of screens for an R-rated film, being out The Matrix Reloaded and what have you. And it was the highest of any Alan Moore adaptation to date. The income was also greater than the entire box office take of another graphic novel, which Moore worked on, which that was From Hell with Johnny Depp and Heather Graham. But anyway, it still pretty good, but underrated though. I can understand why it just underperformed. The film sits at 65% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying gritty and visually striking. The film is a faithful adaptation of the graphic novel, but its complex narrative structure may make it difficult for it to appeal to viewers not already familiar with the source material. Yes, well, I understand. IGN Australia gave it a very good review, saying it's the film you've always wanted to see but never expected to get. Yeah, and someone from the New York Post compared it to some of Stanley Kubrick's films, saying director Zack Snyder's cerebral, scintillating follow up to 300 seems to even a weary filmgoer's eye, as fresh and magnificent in sound and vision as 2001. And of course, I do mean 2001: The Space Odyssey. That's a film I have yet to review. I failed to review that last year, but I'll make up for that though. But of the whole, I think it was pretty good and what have you. Time said this ambitious picture is a thing of bits and pieces, yet the bits are glorious, the pieces magnificent. I agree and what have you. I actually like the sayings and what have you. This was so incredible. It has something unexpected, but well, I really don't want to talk about some of the stuff and what have you. But even so, it still did fine and what have you. Not as much as we had hoped for. I really wish a sequel would happen, but that's unlikely. They may try it again, maybe, but you never can tell. Anyway, now let's see. Tyler Bates did the score for the film, and I'm going to say those were very, very good and what have you. And I liked it and what have you. I think that was so good. And we get to hear all sorts of pretty good songs and what have you, even some classics, including Simon Garfunkel's The Sound of Silence and Jimi Hendrix's All on the Watchtower, plus a lot of others and what have you. So anyway, yeah. So the music's pretty good. Now, as for our cast, we have Malin Akerman as Lori Jupiter, aka Silk Spectre II. I'm gonna say she was pretty good, what have you. In earlier attempts to make this, Hilary Swank, Natalie Portman, Rachel Weisz, Jennifer Connelly, and even Jessica Alba were considered for the role. Billy Crudup plays John Osterman, aka Dr. Manhattan. Keanu Reeves was offered the role, but he was interested, but he ultimately passed and what have you. Now, Crudup, I mostly remembered him from Almost Famous, but he's also been in Mission Impossible 3 and Alien Covenant. Matthew Goode plays Adrian Veidt, aka Ozymandias. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. Tom Cruise was also interested in the part and met with Schneider. Now, he's been Chasing Liberty with Mandy Moore and several others, and what have you, as well as TV shows. Playing Walter Kovacs, aka Rorschach, is Jackie Earle Haley, who I didn't know he was formerly a voice actor because he had lent his voice to several cartoons like Hanna-Barbera's 70s Tune for the Big Guys, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. He later went on, well, the next year he went on to play Freddy Krueger in Samuel Bear's Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Well, he wasn't too bad. And Patrick Wilson, this was still before the Conjuring films and the Aquaman films. He played Daniel Dryberg, aka Night Owl II. Now, originally, the precursors to these, the Minutemen, we had Carla Gugino playing Sally Jupiter, the original Silk Spectre. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Edward Blake, aka the comedian. I'm going to say he was pretty good. There were many other people up for the role of the original Silk Spectre. Liv Tyler, Jamie Lee Curtis, Anne Margaret, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and even Sigourney Weaver. Incredible. Stephen McKay plays Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl. And there's lots of others and what have you. And we have Matt Frewer as Edgar Jacoby. So anyway, so the cast isn't too bad. Sure, this does have a few issues, but on the whole, I think Watchmen is pretty underrated in my view. Now, again, I've never seen the director's cut of the film, but if I do happen to encounter it one day, mind you, I will certainly look into it. So, overall, Watchmen has a good story. It has great characters and a good cast, a great score, and good songs, and a pretty good atmosphere as well. So, overall, would I recommend Watchmen? Well, I think just to be on the safe side, I'd say give it a one-time watch. But if you have heard of Watchmen and you've read their comics series and what have you, I'd say go ahead. So anyway, Watchmen, give it a one-time watch or go for it. That's a draw. So anyway, what did you think of Watchmen? Let me know in the comment section below if you liked the video. Click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me next time when I bring to you a spoiler-free review of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. So if you like this, check out my reviews of some of these other films. If you like some more Zack Snyder, check out my review of 300. Or if you would like maybe a recent Zack Snyder film from the DCEU that he did, check out his take of Justice League in the form of Zack Snyder's Justice League, that premiered on HBO Max, now Max to you. Or if you would like maybe something else, you can see my review of this recent hit with Patrick Wilson, and that's the last installment of Snyder's DCEU in the form of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is now streaming on Max. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.